Elijah, shalom. Peace, brethren. Okay. Auntie. Hey, girl, hey. Belinda Brown. What you playing, baby? I'm playing. Oh, I remember that game. Hey, girl. Ray. Hey, girl, hey. Hold on, let me adjust this. I'll eventually give me some type of little studio setup. I don't know. Maybe when my oldest son move out, he give us our extra room back. Because originally that was going to be the office, a little setup jank, but they had to wait. I really don't dislike doing it in the kitchen, though. This is where we've always done it, in the kitchen. This is where we eat on multiple levels, right? Let's say family gathers here, gather around a table. Happiness is homemade. It's like the perfect place, right? It's where we eat spiritually and physically. I'm missing my penis. All right, y'all, it's Sunday. Hopefully it won't be too much distractions. You know, on the weekends, grandbabies is here, and sometimes it tend to get a little rowdy, right? Aside from us. But anyway, Shebrew, all praises to the Creator. My shalom, shalom. Dawn, what's good, family? Tabitha, shalom, shalom. Hannah, shalom. Jamia, hey, girl, hey, cousin. Shayla, Grand Rising. Oh, Osby College University. Shalom, shalom. Yes. Maybe, I don't know. My uncle was like, he said, let me know when you're ready to do it. I can hook you up. I was like, okay, thank you. I don't know. I want to, but then, I don't know. I don't want to lose like the vibe of everybody being able to come in and share their little input and stuff. Because if I go in there, I'm going to close and lock the door. I know it. And y'all never see the family again. They'll be banging at the door, So, I can control it in the kitchen for the most part. Sony, shalom, shalom. Tiffany. Hey, cousin. DC, shalom, shalom. All right, beautiful people. Happy Sunday. Today is my grandma's birthday. Actually, my nephew's birthday too. And it's Martin Luther King's birthday too, but let's celebrate it tomorrow. But anyway, happy Sunday, beautiful people. It is January the 15th, 2023. Day 315 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1334. Today, we're going to pick back up in the Romance of the Red Star, chapter 3, on page 7 of the cycle of creation. Remember, in Big Blue, they have put Book of Jehovah and the cycle of creation together. Like, I didn't even hear of like the cycle of creation till we got this, but it's called the Book of Jehovah in here, and they just kind of put it all together with the cycle of creation. That's Dad's phone. Go give it back. So we're gonna read, and that's not that long. It's still about what I didn't check though, because there was a whole chapter. Man sought to know the progress. Yeah, chapter 3, I think it was. Let me double check. I think it was a whole chapter missing, or maybe it's put in another place. I'm not sure. Hold on. That's something I wanted to look at real quick. 2 things man seeth I created. So I created by virtue. Oh, wait, that's all. Hold on, let me find my spot. Man perceived the general foundation. Man look upward in prayer. Man sought to know the progress of things. Did I move my page number? Hold on. 4 to 7. Oh, yeah. Hold on. No, I said the right page. I just wrote it down wrong. Oh, okay. That's what screwed me up. Okay, now. He looked upward. Well, man, okay. 6, that's that. Man perceiveth. Yep, that's that. All right. Man sought to know the progress of things, and Jehovah answered him. Man perceived, prayed for a sign. Condition. This is what was screwing up. There is a time of childhood, a time of maturity, a time of old age. Did we see that in here? I think this. Am I tripping? I think that's what's missing. Vapor to rise up because I'm male, female. Even in my likeness. Nope, that's there. When man, hold on. Man perceived the man. Okay, that's chapter 5, which is chapter 4 in the red star. Master than the mammoth. But I think I've seen this before. Maybe they put this somewhere else. That's why I can't find it. Chapter 3 in let me see if y'all found it. No. Accent of the clouds, limited places. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Examples before all men. That's what I think. I don't know. I'll come back a little bit later. Okay, this chapter we're about to read, chapter 3. That's why I was trying to pinpoint and show you where it was at in Big Blue. Like if all you have is Big Blue so you can kind of follow along. But I don't see this chapter. Personal person, I muted. But I read that. Maybe they put it somewhere else. I just don't see it right here. Maybe I'm overlooking it. Okay. So this will be chapter 3. So if that's all, man perceive it. Okay, so that it should be right there. Nevertheless, oh man, the seen and the unseen. Yeah, that's not following that. That's what it should be because that next chapter is right there. Chapter in Big Blue, chapter 9, right? On page 8, it begins chapter 4, and it starts off man perceiveth the general foundation of the world, which is chapter 4 in cycle of creation. It says man perceived the magnitude and glory of the corporal worlds. Wait. Countless suns. That's different too. Oh, boom, I found it. Okay. Dang. I found it. Okay, so chapter 3. Yeah, some stuff I think it's more expanded here in Big Blue. That's why it took so long to find it, because it's here. I knew I read it before when we read this before. But it is time of okay, that's verse 14. I'm sorry, y'all. Which would be verse 1. Man sought to know the progress of things. Okay, yeah, there it is. I knew I read that before. That wasn't brand new. Okay, so if you got Big Blue, chapter 3 in Romance of the Red Star actually begins In Big Blue, chapter 4 at verse 4, at verse 13. Verse 13 is actually verse 1 in chapter 3 of Romance of the Red Star. Traction according to his diet. Yeah, okay, so that's where it is. A lot of stuff has been added to push these verses all the way around like this. So you want apple? Dad is right there. Ask Dad for apple. Okay, so we're about to get started. Let me finish. So okay, so hold your point right there, because we're gonna begin at chapter 3. But in Big Blue, it's gonna be chapter 4, verse 13. That's where you're gonna start. All right. And after we get done reading here, we are going to go to read a little bit more extensively on reincarnation. And this reference right here that Susan B. Martinez did in chapter, this is chapter 7, I think it was. Chapter 7, reincarnation, body snatching for karma. And if you have that, put a marker right there. That's page 284. Or if you order it, just make a note, page 284. Okay. All right. Let me say hey to everybody else. Set apart Ima, shalom, shalom, Avia, shalom, Derry M. I'm sorry. You know what? Is it Derek? Derek M. Is it Derek? I know I'll be saying Derry CM, but is it like M, your initial for your last name, maybe your middle name or something? You know, is it Derek? Kevin, bro, shalom. I ain't seen you in a minute. It's Derek. Okay. Shalom, Derek. I want to make sure I'm saying your name right. Thank you, Tabitha. All right, beautiful people. You were lefty like me. Mine work different. No, I'm actually right-handed. I try to evenly use my left hand though. Like I really do. Like I really want to develop that. So I will use it. All right, beautiful people. With that being said, Father, we thank you for another day of breaking bonds and chains from our minds so we can continue to progress and grow in spirit as you have designed it to be so. All right, y'all. So here we go. Remember, if you got Big Blue, if you want a copy of this PDF, I'll post the link again. Or if somebody got it, they got a wrench, go ahead and post the link to Romance of the Red Star in there. Romance of the Red Star is simply Owaspi under another name, right? Okay. Thank you, Dawn. All right. You looking there? Yeah. I just thought about it. I don't think we even have any more. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, y'all. Page 7 in Romance of the Red Star, chapter 3. Man sought to know the progress of things, and Jehovah answered him, saying, "Open thine eyes, O man." First of all, I forgot to say hey to everybody else hanging out in the background. Top of the morning to y'all. Fritz, shalom. You about to get something to eat, girl? Man sought to know the progress of things, and Jehovah answered him, saying, "Open thine eyes, O man. There is a time of childhood, a time of maturity, a time of old age, and a time of death to all men. Even so is it with all the corporal worlds I have created." You know that it's plastic ones in there. Yeah. Plastic spoons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they just piling up over there. Open thine eyes, O man. There is a time of childhood, a time of maturity, a time of old age, and a time of death to all men. Even so is it with all the corporal worlds I have created. First, as vapor, the vortex carrieth it forth, and as it condenseth, it friction engendereth heat, and it is molten, becoming as a globe of fire in space. Then it taketh its place as a newborn world, and I set it in the orbit prepared for it. She get quiet when I get quiet. Let me read this again. First, as a vapor, the vortex carrieth it forth, and as it condenseth, its friction engendereth heat, and it is molten, becoming as a globe of fire in space. Then it taketh its place as a newborn world, and I set it in the orbit prepared for it. In the next stage, I bring it into sea move, for it is ripe for the bringing forth of living creatures, and I bestow the vegetable and animal kingdoms. Next, it entereth Hotu, for it is past the age of begetting, even as the living who are in dotage. Next, it entereth Adu, and nothing can generate upon it. You know what? Here's where I'm confused, and I think I may have heard Selah talking about it. Is this referring to, okay, when it's talking about, okay, so the worlds go through different phases. Like now, this world is in its habitable stage. But when it begins, does it begin as a sun? Right? Like, I don't know. I was just kind of thinking about this. Thanks, Shebrew, for posting that link. Is that what this is saying? Maybe I missed that. I don't know. Because if that's the case, then we could see two worlds. I don't know. Maybe a world like our sun now would be a world in its beginning stages on fire, but it gives light and heat here. I don't know. Somebody, y'all know? That's one thing that I wasn't really clear on. And I gotta read it over a couple times and go back to cosmogony. That's what it's saying. Okay, so the sun is I'm not sure if it's the next word that's going to come in. Maybe not. But if that's the case, we can see the process of what the earth was before it became this and what it will be, which will be the moon, right? Right? No longer habitable. The little light that it gives off. Do I have that right? Like we see three stages: the sun and the moon, but it's a world in its beginning stages, us in a habitable stage. And once we pass the habitable stage and it dies out and it becomes a moon, I was wondering about that because when I was like just paying attention now to the moon cycles and looking at the sun and how everything rotates or whatever, I'm like, wouldn't that be amazing? The proof is in front of our eyes 24/7, but we never picked up on it because we weren't taught about things correctly. Okay, that's why I've been wondering about this the last few days, and I just thought about it again when it said it here. So let me read this again. Let me read it again. I'm gonna go all the way back to where we started. So if you got Big Blue, go to verse 13 in chapter 4. Okay, thank you, Imam. All right. Okay, see, I must have missed that. I must not have been present for that conversation, Jamil. She said yes, that has been a conversation before. Okay, yeah, I was wondering. I thought I may have been present, but maybe in and out doing stuff, not really hearing clear. But I knew that sounded familiar, and I'd really been thinking about it the last few days while just observing things, especially during the time of the month where you can see both the sun and the moon in the sky at the same time. It's really, really interesting. Okay, I'm gonna start over. Man sought to know the progress of things, and Jehovah answered him, saying, open thine eyes, O man. There is a time of childhood, a time of maturity, a time of old age, and a time of death to all men. Even so is it with all the corporal worlds I have created. First, as vapor, the vortex carrieth it forth, and as it condenseth, its friction engendereth heat, and it is molten, becoming as a globe of fire in space, the sun. Then it taketh its place as a newborn world, and I set it in the orbit prepared for it. In the next age, I bring it into Simu, for it is ripe for the bringing forth of living creatures, and I bestow the vegetable and animal kingdoms. Next it entereth Hotu, Ho apostrophe Tu, for it is past the age of begetting, even as the living who are in dotage. Also, we will be going through it's past the age of begetting, so we would call that menopause, no longer childbearing years. But now I'm kind of rethinking all of this. Somebody brought up something and I'm looking into them like, I don't this is pretty interesting. I don't know. I'm looking into it. Because if that's the truth, then we need to revisit this whole I don't even want to say it out my mouth. So my virgin birth thing, right? So I'm like, that is impossible. I don't know. But there are, I don't know. I don't look at this point. I'm looking for with what I found. I'm looking for. Not talk. I be talking crap about peer-reviewed articles, right? But now I'm in search for some peer-reviewed articles on parthenogenesis. If I said that correctly, um, because some of the things that I read, I'm just like, I mean, I could see. Yeah, I mean, it happens in the animal. I mean, not animal kingdom. If it does, I haven't come across any animal kingdom things yet. But well, I mean, spiders do it. I mean, I guess you can't really be classified as an animal, but it's insect kingdom. It happens there. It clearly happens in the plant kingdom. It sounds like a bunch of garbage if you say it happens in the human kingdom, because I don't know. Maybe some things have been hid. Maybe we're not paying attention. I don't know. Because you try that foolishness today, we're gonna find you on Maury. It's like, mm, I don't know. So that's why I'm at on that right now. I'm looking into it, but it's really interesting. Um, I need to restudy that myself because after we studied the moon, it didn't make sense completely anymore. Right, Jamil? Okay. Zadok, peace and blessings, fam. The virgin earth still needed. Right. See, that's why I'm looking into this other thing, but I'm just like, yeah, I'm trying to line up different things, right? Because I want to see it to the end. I don't want to just be like, oh, that's garbage and kick it to the side without studying everything that's absolutely available just to see that point of view. Not that I'm going to change my point of view, but there are definitely some interesting facts. Okay, how does this happen in the plant kingdom, right? Like we know about photosynthesis and, all of these different things So I'm just like, I'm learning everything. I'm just gonna look at it. I ain't nothing I'm gonna be teaching, right? But I'm interested. There were some things that's really, really interesting. And they said it was like 7 cases. So I'm really looking into these 7 cases because one of them, it was a time of war, and a woman was locked away for 15 months, right? And they found her at the end of this, where she was locked away at. There was actually an underground river, so she wasn't gonna starve to death, right? There was an underground river, and the place where they locked her at had food stored away for well over like if you was going to be stranded or locked away there for like 15 months, there was more than enough food there, right? So those things were taken care of. But I'm not quite biting on the point that nobody went to go check on her. Like you ain't sent not one guard. You done took this woman, locked her away. Not one guard at one time went to go see. And when you got her, she was there for 15 months. But when you got to her to set her free, she was found to be 7 months pregnant. I'm like, I don't believe this crap. Some man that went up in there and had his way with this woman. I'm just like, because I'm not believing it. Because I'm reading through it. I'm like, that's garbage. They're trying to fool us. I was like, nope, they're gonna have to come with something better than this. Because even in that, they said they couldn't explain it on how it happened. My G, a man went up in there and then he went up in there. That's how she pregnant. And everybody's like, well, we don't know. She was locked away. I'm reading through it though. I'm just like, hey, yeah, I'm not buying this. But it's a couple other interesting cases. I'm just thinking about all the other different. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm still looking into it. I don't know if she here because somebody thought he literally went up in there. Sis was probably glad for a little company at that point. Oh, I've been locked. Look, at this point, I got food, I got drink. I'm only missing one thing: a little bit of sunlight. If I ain't getting that, well, give me a little bit of your sunlight. Listen, let me get back to this. All right, but I'm looking into it. Parthenogenesis. Look it up, y'all. If y'all never heard about it, but look it up. It's interesting. All right, listen. Oh, wait. Listen. Let me listen. Hold up. Okay. So let me explain. Okay, so you may not if you have children, while looking up this, if you have children that use your electronics, you let them get your phone from time to time. Maybe you want to, okay, and I'm only saying this because of how Google's algorithm is and how it begins suggesting stuff based on what you search, right? And if your children get on your phone, and if they're of the age of reading, right? It'll start suggesting stuff if you got your notifications and stuff on. And sometimes they don't know. They're just trying to get back to the game and something pop up. Sometimes they try to swipe up and, oh, incognito. You know what? I didn't think about that, right? It was just like, babe, I can't even search this on my phone. They got the tablet. They be sneaking here, getting on my, my iPad. They be sneaking in here. If I get up from my computer and I don't lock it, when I come back, they using my whole setup, the game. Look, I'm like, what are y'all doing? Mom, I said, and all my stuff connects. I said, so I don't even know how we're going to be able to look this up. We can't go to the library. He said, they ain't going to touch my phone. What we need to look up. So when you're on his phone, I said, put this in here. Listen, so while reading through some of this, it brought up some topics about the woman's body, and we all adults here, right? About the woman's body and orgasm, right? And so while looking up some of this stuff, what pops up is the woman's orgasm, like the difference between like an orgasm and a squirting orgasm, right? So it gets into that a little bit, but it popped up to tell you about the difference between the two. Now, a lot of people, they'll think they'll kind of lump the words together, but they're actually different. And one of them, we're adults here, a squirting orgasm is composed um of of a what's the word? It's not sex class, but I'm explaining to you why it's quite interesting, because I was like, well, we need to inspect this. And I called my sister. So we on the phone. I said, we need some advice from you. You being a medical professional. We need to understand something. Explain this to us. So they say that for squirting orgasms, right? It's a mix of urine and the actual ejaculate that comes when a woman reaches climax, right? Most of it, if y'all don't watch some crazy stuff, you see some crazy stuff, women shooting across the room. That's piss. Listen, but it is mixed with that substance. And look, and that's what they was talking about. That substance in there. Women don't release a lot of that, but it is mixed in with the urine. And women have we'll just put it like this. Okay, so when you go, it's not released from the clitoris. There is another, it's released from I forget the name, but anyway, it's like two holes there, and it doesn't the we'll call it seminal fluid or whatever, you may not want to call it that for a woman, but they say it is comprised of the same thing that's in semen, right? So I'm just like, when I read that, I'm like, okay, this was on a little medical thing. I'm like, well, shoot. I'm like, well, then I was like, well, could this be possible? But we would still have it happening today, right? We should see some cases of this somewhere, but maybe maybe because we're not informed on how it works, it's not happening like that. And because we live in a I ain't gonna say strictly, but predominantly male dominated society, it's like it's patriarchs and stuff, and it's like, no, you need us, because how you gonna get this good stuff to create more children, right? But I was looking into some of the different theories on how, I'm not saying get rid of your men, that is not what I'm saying, but I'm just reading through some of this stuff on this, and there were communities of women who were reproducing babies. I'm like, this is some crap. Men was coming in at midnight. They had some men down in the cellar or something. It was men impregnating them, right? So I'm just like, I'm just looking, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this, you know. But it was really, really interesting. But looking into that and the fluid that's released from there, and if you've ever practiced, right? You listen, I'm gonna use some cold words here. It's children around. If you've ever practiced, now if you're a little bit older, don't be doing it. Don't use up all your fluids, right? Because it will dehydrate you. It's gonna you're gonna bleed out a lot of potassium and nutrients by doing this. Jamil said, I remember reading that substance. Right, right. They were saying that substance right there, because it was composed of the same thing that's in male semen that's used to actually fertilize the egg. That's how it can be done. I was like, well, I don't know. We might need to go get like a not a telescope, um one of them chemistry, what you call it, the chemistry janks. And we're gonna take some samples. Elijah, we need to take some samples and look up some stuff, right? So but there is, like, if you've ever, you know, like, was curious and practicing, you can tell the difference between the substances that are, yeah, a microscope. Thank you, Kevin. A microscope, you can tell the difference between the substances, right? Like, we should have like a whole class on this. Like, we really should. Like, can't be a part of this where everybody watch, but I'm just saying, because I got some other questions for people who may be a little more advanced in that area, right? I don't know, but it's interesting. I want to see some today's studies with the substance that's released from the woman, like, really side by side with what's released from a man. Show us the makeup of it, what's there. Like, maybe that's there, maybe somebody did it and I just ain't found it yet. But if it's out there, I guarantee you me, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna let y'all know when I do. But it's really, really interesting. And that's how they were saying with that substance right there. But the thing is, okay, say if that's the case, if that's the case, that substance right there, I ain't touching nobody's samples. Like, that's why I say you gotta have do that with your loved one. I'm sure they ain't got no problem with touching it. Look, Dawn, look, not peeing on me. Look, yeah, they, you know. If you're gonna, if you, I would just say, if you're gonna, if you want to test the theory, right? You and your spouse, you can test it. Get a towel, right? Test it, right? It could get a little messy. It really could. I'm just saying, right? Just, but listen, we got to get down to the bottom of this. It's an uncontrolled body function. Yeah, because, oh man, and I think I was gonna listen. Sometime, yeah, buddy. Listen, so let me put my words together. So that's also something that I noticed when it hits that, Jamil. It is, I would say, is I can say it's uncontrollable. Yeah, at that point, women are pouring a pen on purpose. I don't doubt that one bit, because I mean, not recently, but from previously when I looked at this, I'm like, what is she? Did she just piss on him? I had no understanding at that point, like, about squirting. I was like, these fetishes then got completely out of hand, right? And then now you got Kevin Gates talking. Kevin Gates has always been nasty, right? But I'm just like, this is beyond me, right? But there. I ain't talking about them doing it, but yeah, I think I don't think they wanted to get up, because I get up in a minute. Hold on, let's pause, relieve myself real quick, right? But you know what? I think that just needs to be shared on another platform. What I'm about to say. Okay, I'm gonna just let's just go back to this. What I was about to say, not that, but I'm curious now with that, the substance that the woman releases, right? There still has to be, or there still has to be a process for her to release that in order to impregnate herself, right? Plants is just, some of them they just whatever, they ain't moving, won't see nothing. It's just a process that they just kind of flow with, and it just happens, right? And they don't need like the outside, because they're combined. uh their their makeup has everything that they need. It's like male and female together, so they don't need like another plant to come do it, because they're composed of all things. They're whole, male and female together, like you call them androgynous or something like that. um Excuse me. But that's also where the study kind of backtrack to, and it goes back into like a few things, and it make you start questioning a lot of stuff. I'm not sure that I'm buying it yet, because if you keep going back on that path, to me at this point, and my understanding, it seems to, if I can say this, and if you believe this, it's okay, but I'm just looking into this, and here's my thoughts now. um um Hold on. Jamia said, and now it makes people think it's disgusting when really it's about, yeah, back to the, that's I wanted to say, right? That's what I wanted to say. I'll just rephrase how I was gonna say it, and I'll come back to what it was leading up to. Hold on, let me make a note. Leading up to, because to me at this point it seems like it's trying to explain some things away, at least to me at first glance while looking at this. I could be wrong, I don't know, but we'll come back to that. So when Jamil said it's an uncontrolled function, right? So if anybody has ever had the experience or maybe the pleasure of doing that, and a lot of women actually have, and they don't even realize that they can do that, right? And I'm like, oh shoot, you know me, I'm for testing everything. We can do that. How do we do that? Let's try this, right? And lo and behold, right? If you know what to do, it can happen. If you do it back to back, they talk about women having, if you do that while releasing that fluid, and I'm gonna tell you, listen, if you do that, there's a way to do it without releasing a bunch of fluids, because if you do that back to back, and each time you release all that fluid, and it is sometimes, not sometimes, it's mixed with pee, just like Jamia said, there are even traces of pee in semen as well, right? If you do that multiple times, and while taking it to that point where it releases fluid, you gonna catch a cramp, right? Like, because what you're releasing with it is not just that you're releasing nutrients, right? Remember when we was talking about semen retention? Some of these things, like the things that I studied on semen retention, and how men, when they control their sexual urges and nature, and you can actually, what they call it, transmute that sexual energy, right? There's like a higher, listen, seriously, it sounds, Shebrew, sounds a little messy and pissy talking about it right here, but there is a higher purpose. It's like we got all these raw ingredients. We're trying to figure out what to do with all of this. listen, listen. Do we just practice this? What are we doing? We got stuff is everywhere. No, listen. There's a higher spiritual purpose for all these moving ingredients, right? There is a higher spiritual purpose, right? And so when you learn about men and semen retention, if they're able to transmute that sexual energy, it'll take you to higher spiritual planes, right? Like literally, will open you up spiritually to get them wheels, them spirals of energy flowing in perfect formation from the root to the crown, up into the ether, right? If you learn about it the right way, and not just picking and choosing, we're gonna hang out around here, we just this, yes, we're gonna stay right here. It's a higher purpose for all of it, right? Look, my juices are my energy, right? And I know it just, because we ain't taught about it the right way, so it just sound like sex egg gone astray. But it's really not, right? Listen, but it is, they have a higher purpose. And if you just having a good time and releasing these fluids just for the sake of the feeling of having a good time, I would say you are you're going to begin to start doing damage to yourself, to your body, like for real. Like when you lose the potassium in your body, you could die. That's like literally a medical emergency, right? So y'all got to be aware of like all of these things. So if you're practicing it, keep some water by the bed, some Gatorade, something with some electrolytes, because that's what you're losing. Like you're literally draining your body of these things, and them cramps ain't no joke. Till I figured out why am I catching cramps. I'm about to start crying, double over, pass out, roll out the bed. I'm like, oh shoot, wait a minute. Listen. So in all you're getting, get understanding. Don't be practicing willy-nilly. You might kill yourself. Look, listen. So now that's why I said it's quite interesting. This is quite interesting. This whole parthenogenesis thing that I'm looking into, because it started bringing up other stuff, and I'm like, well, I know that's true. So okay, so they mixing stuff now. I don't know. I'm still in the throes of this study. Like I ain't pushed some stuff to the side, but I'm like, wait a minute, we need to, because this is something like I know clearly we're working on now. I need to know what's really going on. Right? And so I'm like really into this study right now about this and what's happening and what the female body can do. But let me go back to what I was saying. Some of the stuff that I was looking at with looking at this, and the development of a person who has they said both sexual organs, but it's like the makeup of a man and a woman. They call them and did I say it right, androgynous, or I think androgynous, when they have male and female parts or whatever. But what I was looking into, they said this was, man has kind of developed to where we're at today. Oh, thank you, hermaphrodite. What's androgynous? Oh, that was probably like the more, yeah, hermaphrodite. Thank you, Jamil. Just me, shalom, shalom. So look, laughing at Jamil's comment. Look, so what they were saying was, and they even started, I had to put it down because it started bringing in some scriptures from Genesis and stuff. I was like, wait a minute, wait. They trying to twist the scriptures now. But clearly before we was looking at some stuff in Genesis, I was like, there was something else going, there was something else of a sexual nature happening in the beginning. And that's what it was kind of alluding to, right? And it was talking, y'all, it's crazy. Like I said, don't take none of this as, I'm just looking into it, and it's just really interesting. So it started talking about the sons of God, and how when so it gave a little bit more background. It was talking about spirits who are elevated higher than mortals on the earth. And what happened is it was saying that if you've developed higher and you've already like passed from the earth, or another place like earth or whatever, and you become a higher being, right? An ethereal angel, an atmosphere, you're fully born into spirit, right? There are things that develop in you to where you can actually reproduce, and you don't need like a partner to do it, right? But they said that's being higher raised, you're able to do that. But they said what happened was, when it said the sons of God came down and had sex with the daughters of men, and it was right there, that scripture right there in Genesis, I think it's 6:1. Was it Genesis? No, Genesis 3:1. Genesis 6. Is it Genesis 6? Anyway, when the sons of God came down and had sex with the daughters of men who were beautiful, it began to take that and explain that. It was saying that before they came down, they were already capable of reproduction. But what happened was, when they came down and had sex with the daughters of men, it cut them off from their, it's like they lowered themselves in rank, and some of the things that they could do before, they were no longer able to do it, because they had pretty much engaged with another, they didn't say species, but another type of animal, whatever, right? Ongui, human animals, right? They violated some spiritual laws, And by doing that, it cut them off from being able to do some things that they were able to do. And then they reproduce another offspring, right? And so now the offspring that they reproduce now by doing it this way is no longer capable of being able to produce children by themselves without the opposite sex. So they was trying to put all these. I'm just like, to me, because this is my first time looking at it, it seemed like they was just trying to combine a whole bunch of stuff. And then they started talking about how this was why the scarab beetle was so prominent in Egypt, right? And because they say if you study a scarab beetle, it doesn't necessarily need the opposite sex to reproduce, but once they do reproduce with another beetle, they shorten their lifespan and they die. But if they never interact physically with another beetle, they're capable. They were created because they're capable of reproducing life by themselves, right? Which is why Egypt held the scarab beetle in high esteem. And it was a reminder of them then that this is what we could do. We still hold the same makeup of this, only if we will understand the higher principles. And it has to do with the diet, everything, eating fruits and stuff, with a strictly fruit diet, everything that's high energy, the meditation, all this stuff, bring yourself in line. You could literally, uh, what's the word? You could refine your body, so to speak, right? You could refine your body to where the things because they said the things, even though you can't do it when you're reproducing with another person, especially the women, and it gets into a whole bunch of other stuff about the women, right? And I'm like, well, darn, well, that kind of, oh, it seems possible. But I don't know. This is just, it's sounding foreign to me. This is the first time I'm looking at this. But I'm like, it sounds like, Jimmy, it sounds possible, but I don't know about this. This is, you trying to take me off into another doctrine. It's going to have me hemmed up down the road somewhere. But as I'm looking at it, I'm like, I mean, I guess I'm not taking it as my own, but that sounds interesting. I said, because clearly it happens in the plant kingdom. It happens in the insect kingdom, right? I don't know about these few instances and stuff from, they said, I'm not buying those studies from these 7 people, but they said those are the ones they put on paper, but in other cultures and on the continent it was happening all the time. And that they were saying that clearly all, what is it called, the zygotes or whatever, every child starts off as a female, but when it gets to a certain point, it'll either it'll get more testosterone or whatever. I may be saying it wrong, but then it'll develop into a male, which is why, so it was predominantly female. And then I saw that, I was like, well, I could see. So even some things with it began to explain on why women or girls, their intellect is a lot of time they're multiple years ahead of boys, and in their understanding and stuff, simply because of how they were made complete with all things in them. And they literally didn't need another mate. When they were at their highest estate, they could reproduce male and female by themselves. That's how males came, right? But there were more females that were being put out because that was the, and it sounded a little discriminatory to me. That's why it was more women, because it was, I don't know, y'all. I'm gonna just leave it alone for the time being. But it's really, really interesting, some of the stuff. Like I said, check into it. It's called Parthenogenesis. And when you start looking into it, it's bringing out some other stuff. But also, that's the one point. It was also saying that at some point, because it's like this, then they started to that's when I say, they just trying to explain away stuff now, right? Because what he was trying to say was that at this point, this is where we get people who become homosexual from birth. I'm like, what did you just say? And he went on to explain a process on how that happens. I'm just like, so you know what? People who, clearly, I'm nowhere near a medical professional, right? If I need something, I'll go look it up, right? And I'm still probably more dumb than the dumbest person in the medical field, right? But it began to say that as the body developed, and if I forget exactly what it was, but something inside the woman that's fully developed that makes it a woman, that when it's transitioning, that process doesn't completely take place, and hormones are like disrupted. So that person that they say from birth is like what did he call it? It was um a person who's born, I'm gonna just put it this way. He said this is how people are born homosexuals, because this process right here was disrupted, and the hormones, they didn't fully develop how it should be if they're going to be fully male. And so now they have a combination like of the two, and they're half developed, and they're born, and this process didn't complete. And as you got all of this, and I'm just like, I'm done for the night. And that's why I paused that. Because I thought this was complete foolishness. I don't know. I'm just like, yeah, no, I don't believe that. I just well, at this point, I just can't. But he made it sound good, but I don't know. It's just I'm not buying that. I'm really not buying that. So, but it's a lot of, if you want to look into it, it's a lot of medical terms and stuff that they put in there, and I'm just like, I ain't studied it long enough to like pick apart, but now I'm gonna just say nope. If I study a little bit longer, like I said, and I pick apart every single thing, make sure I go into this, and take me a little while. But it's just like with reincarnation, right? There's something else that's why we get into the deeper study, that it's something else that you're leaving out, like, because if we bring in this part, then this is going to disrupt this theory right here, and this no longer makes sense like we thought already. But this proves that this doesn't make sense. But if you're teaching this and you only giving us this, especially to people who've never even looked into this, it's going to look like, oh, this is all the information, until some other information comes and cross-examines it, right? So that's what I feel about this. Yeah, I know we see it in the plant kingdom, insect kingdom. I'm not buying it in the human kingdom. It could be, I don't know, right? If everything around us is a a smaller, it's a microcosm of what we are, and we are a smaller microcosm of the earth and the universe and what it is it possible? Sure. Anything could be possible, I guess, right? I mean, I don't know it all, but I'm just, with this subject, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not buying it. At this point, I can clearly say that with a lot of faith. I'm not buying it. Not to say some of it is not interesting. It's really interesting, right? But I don't know. Just me said, if you use gardening to understand this, you know you can't mix seed in the same pot of soil. When you do, the product can have different characteristics of all that was planted there. You're right, just me, right? And I do some gardening. You're right, right? I mean, you would get you get excuse me, you get hybrid things, and you will have some, the seeds definitely don't mix, right? But you can plant them close enough, and if they're, let's just say, if they're compatible, you would, I mean, even if they're compatible, they'll grow together in the same pot, same space, but they're going to be distinctly different. You can see, oh, this is a tomato, and this is corn, right? Whatever. But you don't plant them two together. I mean, you could, but it's probably not wise to plant them two together. I mean, you could. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess you can. I've just never planted them together. Right, cross pollination and stuff. But you would have to like, yeah, yeah, that's impossible. You can't like mix actually mix seeds. Like, you can mash two potatoes in together and mix it up, and it may, if it's two white potatoes, you may not be able to tell the difference. But seeds, yeah, you can't mix two seeds. You would have to wait till it's broken through its mold, and it's, so you gotta, yeah, the cross pollination thing, that's interesting. That's something to think. Tabitha said that's something to think about concerning the LBGT community. There is something that prompted this behavior. I believe that, right, with some of my studies into like that particular nature, that lifestyle, it seems like there's always something that like triggers somebody or pushes them into that type of lifestyle, right? And some people may not agree, but this is just what I found. There could be early traumas, right? Somebody that abuses you to where now you're violated, and as a child, the mind hasn't gotten done developing, and it's confused, and it doesn't have anybody there that kind of help them straighten them roads out. So it could come from abuse. It could come from actual surroundings, being around people who live that lifestyle, right? And those you can just say those spirits become attached to you, or hold on. But yeah, that's what I was going. That was going to be my next thing, Jamia. She said possibly has to do with spirit possession. Right now that we're looking at um this here, things that we learned about in the field guide to the spirit realm, and just looking at past cases and current cases of things that's happening now, I'm thinking it's leaning more over to that, right? I'm believing that's what I believe at this point. I'm believing that when you go into that lifestyle, it's an overshadowing of another spirit, right? And it could be an overshadowing of like that opposite sex. So if you're a male and you become homosexual, maybe you're being overshadowed by a previous spirit who's passed, that's a woman. So maybe the woman is a woman is overshadowing them, right? Because they seem to go it, and it goes to like wild extremes. I think that would explain the wild extremes. Like you have some men who live that lifestyle, they switch and walk better than women do, right? And vice versa. The same thing with the women who, flip flop, and they live that lifestyle. They take on all those characteristics, but it would make sense. It's indicative of demonic possession. That's what it is, right? At least that's what I'm thinking. I'm not saying 100%, but based on all that I have learned up today till today, it's an overshadowing of another entity, right? That's caused them to really lean over into that lifestyle, because that would make sense. Listen, especially that would explain early childhood traumas of like molestation. And not that that happens with everybody that's molested, but a lot of time, I'll say a lot of times maybe it does, because look, we learned about it. What's the catalyst for it? It's the trauma, right? The trauma, child, young age, the spirit comes in to protect them, or to put you in that safe place, so to speak. You black out, or you go to that safe place in your mind, which leaves you open to another spirit to kind of take over, right? So that seems to me how homosexuality would begin, right? And in some cases, in other cases, it could happen possibly while they're in the womb. Yes, we learned that depending on the circumstances of the mother and the father, the environment they're in when the child is in the womb, right? This could happen. A child could be born from the time they come out, their native spirit has been held in abeyance by another spirit, right? So that's what it seemed like to me. And also when I was looking into this with one of the people that I was looking into, um I further was like, yeah, this is definitely um I don't know. But what I saw pop up as I was looking at some more references from a certain person who was trying to explain this, that person also believes in reincarnation. I'm like, see, yep, I knew something was off, right? Because this is kind of leading over to this, is like, it's like mixing information the wrong way. And that's what it seemed like to me. So like I said, I'm still looking into it, but I think if we understood some spiritual things, I believe a lot of the stuff we'd be able to pick apart easily, right? So that's why I think is really important that we really rise higher spiritually, so we can be able to pinpoint things, so we can quit being fooled, and we can truly help people get free. People who are struggling with lifestyles or vices or whatever, right? If we're able to see the spiritual side of things and how that attach to the natural side and how they move in tandem, we're able to better, like a surgeon with his knife, who become really precise with this and help them get free. And not only just get free for the moment, but stay free. Let me tell you how it got this way. Let me show you how you don't go down this road anymore. This is how this happens. You stay away from this. You don't do this. Keep yourself protected here. Think about your spirit. Think about surroundings, all of those things, right? And people will stay free forever and they'll continue to grow, right? And it this is really, really interesting. So animalistic nature, shalom, shalom. Yeah, that's what I think too. The overshadowing of the opposite sex, right? Oh, that's a good point, Miss Amanda. She said, I believe it comes also from our food, the GMO seeds and the hormones injected into everything. Absolutely. Yaki talks about that really good. He's talking about yeah, that specifically, he does a really good job of explaining that, because all the chemicals and all this stuff and how they're splicing seeds and foods and you getting this different type of product, and by us consuming that, it's disrupting the hormones and the natural flow of life in our body as well. So yes, that's definitely a part of it. That's definitely a part of it. All right, y'all. So Lord, have mercy. We didn't finish a whole chapter, but I really want to get into this reincarnation jank. So how about we just hold on? Let me just finish, because this is like this. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I guess this is 9 verses. It's really short, this chapter 3. So let me just finish this and then we'll hop over here to the reincarnation thing, right? Because that's how we got off this, because it said something in here. So let me finish this thought with these few verses. Listen. Oh, listen, just me. Listen. I know. Hold on. Where my mama at? Listen. My mama used to work for them for a long while. Where's she at? Mom. They blanked out the first letter. Look at the last comment by just me. Just me. Yeah, right. Look, the person that just commented right before you waved your hand, right? When we was talking about the GMO foods and how they, disrupting the flow of life in your body with the foods and stuff that they're producing, all the chemicals. They said the asterisk on Santo, don't want to cause trouble, so I blanked out the first letter, right? That's the name of a company. My mom actually worked for them for many years, and she can testify what you're saying is true. Yep, they do. Yes. This is my reason why that, yeah, Tabitha, right? Because sometimes they do. Some of them are really outlandish, right? And sometimes, because they do, they catch the bad end of the stick all the time because of their lifestyle. Not that we approve of the lifestyle, but we can tell that there definitely are some traumas that have happened. Even though some of them will tell you that ain't no trauma happened to me. I was born this way. This is who I was created to be, right? We know that's a little bit of delusion. We're not gonna fight and argue with them, right? Especially those of us who are or spiritually developed a little bit more than they are. We can really see through all of that, because if you begin to, I ain't gonna say pick apart their life or anything like that, but just like everybody else has had traumas in their life, their trauma has just manifested in a different way, So I wouldn't treat them any differently, because still they're people, right? That's no different than making fun of somebody who has lost both their legs or maybe had their eye put out. Their trauma has just manifested a little bit differently, right? And so we should still respect them, understand that they don't understand what has happened to them and they think this is who they are, and they're not. It's not, right? So you have to use wisdom. You got to use some tact, right? You got to use some tact and some compassion when dealing with people who have manifested traumas all over their life that everybody can see. Let's call it that, right? A lot of our traumas are hidden and we hide it really well. Theirs is they're just flipped inside out, you know? Yes, absolutely. They're still the creator's children, right? Their traumas are flipped inside out where everybody can see. We just hide ours a little bit better and we walk around making everybody think that we're okay and we're really not, right? So, all right, let me finish this and then we're gonna hop over here. Listen, I'm gonna just start on, it's like 9 verses. I'm not gonna cut myself off this time. I'm gonna just finish it and we're gonna hop over here. Page 7, if you got Romance of the Red Star. is page 7, chapter 3. But if you looking at it at Big Blue, it is chapter 4, starting at verse 13, right? Okay. Man sought to know the progress, excuse me, man sought to know the progress of things, and Jehovah answered him, saying, open thine eyes, O man. There is a time of childhood, a time of maturity, a time of old age, and a time of death to all men. Even so is it with all the corporal worlds I have created. First, as a vapor, the vortex carrieth it forth, and as it condenseth, its friction engendereth heat, and it is molten, becoming as a globe of fire in space, the sun. Then it taketh its place as a newborn world, and I set it in the orbit prepared for it. In the next age, I bring it into Simu, for it is ripe for the bringing forth of living creatures, and I bestow the vegetable and animal kingdoms. Next, it entereth Hotu, for it is past the age of beginning, even as the living who are in dotage. And that's where we stop, and we got off for the next, I ain't gonna say got off for the next hour. It's I'll say a needed detour for what we're learning. Next, it entereth Adu, and nothing can generate upon it. Then cometh Uz, and it is dissolved away into space. Thus create I, and thus dissipate suns, planets, moons, and stars. My examples are before all men. My witnesses are without number. I raise the tree up out of the ground. I give it a time to bring forth fruit, and then barrenness, and then death and dissolution. I prepare the new field with rich soil, bringing forth, and the old field that is exhausted, bearing, and so shall man weigh the progress and destiny of a world. Let no man marvel because of the size of the mastodon and mammoth, for there was a time for them as there is a time for the infusoria. There was a time for them as there is a time for the infusoria of this day. I have given thee a sign, O man, in the queen of the honeybee. Because of the change of the cell cometh she forth a queen, even from the same manner of germ as the other bees. That's interesting too, if you ever studied that, how the queen bee starts off as a regular bee, and then how this one out of this whole community of bees, she develops into the queen bee, and she becomes like the biggest bee, and the bees around her began to feed her the royal jelly. I'm just like, this is amazing, right? Listen, study bees. Because of the change of the hold on. Let no man marvel because of the size of the mastodon and mammoth, for there was a time for them as there is a time for the infusoria of this day. I have given thee a sign, O man, in the queen of the honeybee. Because of the change of the cell cometh she forth a queen, even from the same manner of germs as the other bees. Be wise, therefore, and remember that the earth is not in the same place in the firmament as of old. Let this be a testimony to thee of the growth, the change, and the travel of the earth. Nevertheless, O man, the seen and the unseen are but parts of my person. I am the unity, the whole. And so that's where we're going to pause. And we'll pick this back up tomorrow. And tomorrow, most of y'all off tomorrow. We can probably spend a little bit more time tomorrow too, because it's a holiday. So it's like an extended weekend, which give us a little bit more time. So we'll do that. Okay, so we're gonna pause right here. And then we're gonna hop over here to this reincarnation a little bit more. So. Page 7. Okay. All right, y'all. Okay. So we're still in Field Guide to the Spirit World, but we just finished the Reincarnation Hoax chapter. But within this chapter, it gave us a reference to a more in-depth study that she did in reincarnation. So we're going to pause here. There's one more chapter left to read here, and then we will be done with this book, and then we're going to move on to the Scenes Gospel of Peace, reading through that, right, on the second half of the video. But we're going to pause before we read the last chapter and hop over here to this deeper chapter on reincarnation that she did, which is chapter 7 of this book, Delusions in Science and Spirituality, the Fall of the Standard Model and the Rise of Knowledge from the Unseen Worlds. This title is going to be so interesting today. I got to be careful because I know I'm going to get a bunch of porn links spammed under the comments. I'm going to have to watch it and block people because of the title I want to use today. I'll try and do it incognito. So maybe I add some periods between the words, but I got to be able to reference this video real quick. So I got to make the title something that's memorable. Okay, y'all. So chapter 7 begins on page 284. All right. Chapter Reincarnation, Body Snatching for Karma. And we're gonna read a couple pages and then we'll pause and be on up out of here. All right. All right. Carl Jung seems to have invented his archetypes and memory pool just in time for the modern revival of the ancient doctrine of reincarnation. Followers today, having observed so-called recollections of past lives, have taken to calling it genetic memory. This protoplasmic memory stream is supposedly in our genes, which we inherit. What? Your cells remember even if you don't. Stern, 1973, page 174, 15, and page 67. Quote, speculation that the body remembers the past is blatant anti-science, end quote. Martin Gross, The Psychological Society. Reincarnation seems to have been dreamed up by the good idea fairy. It makes sense, proponents exhort. Quote, pity that so many have fallen in this trap, end quote, wrote England's James Webster, author of The Case Against Reincarnation. If you don't have that, maybe get that. We mentioned that in the other book as well. The Case Against Reincarnation. Quote, the virus is caught by so many, all and sundry. The attraction seems to be rather like the flies that are drawn to the allure and perfume of the flycatcher plant, little realizing the danger, end quote. Personal communication. Not far from me here in Georgia, an Atlanta past life therapist claims to eliminate depression and other problems by clearing out her patient's cellular memory. Memories from previous incarnations, she asserts, are stored in the file cabinets of our subconscious mind. The body, as the argument goes, remembers everything. Quote, the soul imprint is on every single cell in the body, end quote. McLean, 1986, page 324 to 25. Such are the entirely hypothetical pronouncements of certain New Age, quote, healers, end quote, some of whom then offer costly procedures such as acupuncture to release those horrid imprints. The claim entirely ignores the findings of modern science, whereby the myelin, myelin, whereby the myelin sheathing of the fetal brain and even the infant is not sufficiently developed to carry any memories whatsoever. Quote, children come into the world with no baggage except for their innocence, end quote. William Peter Blatty, Legion. Reincarnation is the philosophy that has the infant arrive in this world loaded with baggage from past experiences. That's good. Listen, reincarnation is the philosophy that has the infant arrive in this world loaded with baggage from past existences. This metaphysic stands in contrast to the doctrines such as Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism, which speaks of the soul given in a pure state. It was also Enlightenment philosopher John Locke's belief that the newborn arrives clear and beautiful, fresh from the hand of the Creator. Yes, a tabula. Yes, a tabula rasa who will become a person in his own right with the unfolding of the years. Quote, the first, girl, ma, oh, shoot. I didn't mean to do that. Ah, hold on. I bring Facebook back up. Oh, shoot. Oh, man. Can y'all hear me? I'm live. Facebook. Can y'all hear me still? Facebook. Did I mute? Can y'all hear me? Did the sound go out? Did the sound go out? Yes? No? Can you hear me? Facebook? I know it's two people. Yes? Okay, cool. Woo. Text my sister. Okay. I know y'all can hear me on YouTube. It's just when a phone call come in, sometimes it knocks the sound out on Facebook. So do me a favor, text Alicia. Tell her I'm still live. Okay. Quote, the first of man, the newborn babe, I created a blank. Yea, from the hour of conception, it is a new star in the world, and it magnifieth itself forever. End quote. Owaspi, Book of Knowledge, chapter 2, verse 24. The little one, rather than saddled with an ancient personality, wakes up in this world for the first time, knowing nothing, understanding nothing, not yet a person, like the bud that is not quite a rose. All he needs is time to become himself. If astrology, chapter 5, which will be chapter 5 in this book, if astrology, chapter 5, says the constellations determine our temperate, ReIncarnation says it is a former self that shapes us, even limits us. Let me read that again. I'm gonna have to go through here because I haven't gotten through the whole book yet. And I was looking up some stuff on astrology. It says, if astrology, chapter 5, says the constellations determine our temperament, ReIncarnation says it is a former self that shapes us, even limits us. If astrology holds that certain planets imprint traits on us at the moment of birth, ReIncarnation contends your past self enters you at the moment of birth. Now, here finally is a theory, ReIncarnation, that at least grants us a soul, as opposed to the stark materialism of Freud. But without knowledge of the soul's journey and of the mechanics and administration of the spirit world, it is impossible to determine the truth or fallacy of this doctrine, right? Kind of like what I said about this parthenogenesis happening with humans. I'm lacking some information right now, so I can't really prove yeah or nay, but I'm leaning on the side of nay at this point, right? Based on what we're learning. Look, Selah Shalom, brother. Listen, now, here finally is a theory, ReIncarnation, that at least grants us a soul, as opposed to the stark materialism of Freud. But without knowledge of the soul's journey and of the mechanics and the administration of the spirit world, it is impossible to determine the truth or fallacy of this doctrine. Its subject is, after all, what happens to us after death. Where does the soul go? Where are the experts here? Who do you call? Who are the final arbiters of the afterlife? Theologians, psychiatrists, new age gurus, metaphysicians? Our best bets are seasoned psychic researchers, particularly the seasoned spiritualists. As an academic researcher, the late Ian Stevenson ranks high, but even he, who was perhaps the most qualified reincarnation investigator of the 20th century, had to admit that, quote, we know almost nothing about reincarnation, end quote. Stevenson, 1987, page 260. The learned spiritualists is not as different. The learned spiritualist is not as diffident or clueless as Dr. Stevenson. The well-trained adept is quite familiar with the broad sweep of overshadowing by discarnates, and this includes the illusion of past life recollections. The keynote to the debate is this: the doctrine of re-embodiment is based on the premise that only past lives can explain our personal knowledge of other existences, like Billy Milligan's or Sybil's, as we saw in the last chapter. Time and time again, the argument is put before us that there is no alternative to the rebirth interpretation, therefore, it must be true. But there is an alternative: the overshadowing, the power of otherworldly inspiration and intrusion. Excuse me. The wide-ranging forays of the human psyche beyond the physical have been very well documented on the phenomenon known as NDE, near-death experience. Many forms of such ASCs, altered states of consciousness, as well as dormant mediumship, have been mistaken for visions of one's own former self. Granted, in most of us, the psychic faculty is but a seed, an untapped potential lying fallow until something happens to expand it. This latent force, this overlooked, slighted, even suppressed and despised aspect of self will open a door that has been closed for too long. With it, we will put the PSI back in psychology. We will learn how to handle the strange mind stuff that triggers, quote, disease of the soul, end quote, philo, it's philo, sorry. I think that's philo, Philo, philo. We will untangle the tangled web of irrational disorders, remove the stigma of the uncanny, and finally put to rest, the freakish and phony black art of reincarnation. That's got to go in the title too. Phony black art of reincarnation. Okay. Quote, the individual is preserved, end quote, opined Protestant theologian Paul Tillich, quote, but only in the realm of essences, end quote. Spiritualism proper, which deals in those essences, has never endorsed the theory of plural lives, though too often it is confused with it, is simply stated the belief of immortality of the soul, not the body. Big difference. Okay, and so there's two figures on both pages, right? Figure 7.1, the afterlife, and it's a cartoon by Marvin E. Herring. And on the next page is figure 7.2, rebirth, cartoon by Marvin E. Herring. And I forgot to post the cartoons from the other day when we was here. So I'm gonna remember to take the pictures today and post them so y'all can see it. But anyway, this first one right here is dude going to a movie theater, right? Right here. And it says on the movie theater banner, the afterlife playing soon. And then the lady behind the glass, she's the one that's speaking and says, sorry, no coming attractions. And this next one right here is two really old looking dudes, right? Right here. Right there. It says, the Pharisees say that we're resurrected body and soul. And the other dude saying, people want to come back? Yeah, so one dude, he looked like he got, if you look at his face, hold on. Can y'all see it? Okay, I think both of y'all can see it right here. This dude right here is saying the Pharisees said we get to come, hold on. It says the Pharisees say that we are resurrected body and soul. And you can see they all skin and bones right here. They are knocking on death's doors. They're probably gonna die later in the day. And this dude looking at him like in disbelief, like people want to come back here. So that was pretty cool. Let's go back to the next page. Okay. We're gonna read a couple more paragraphs. Oh yeah, we'll read to the end of this and we'll pause right before it gets to spiritualism and reincarnation. We'll pick this portion back up tomorrow. All right. Hold on. Okay. Page 288. Quite plainly, it is only the spirit part that lives on in the quote realm of essences, end quote, improving by and by, becoming stronger and wiser and more useful. When reincarnationalists claim that the essential part of the person becomes re-embodied in new earthly lives, the argument is precisely the opposite of the spiritualist, which sees the essential part, the spirit part, ascend and make its halting progress through the stratified heavens. Quote, one great light I have bestowed upon all men, which is that they can progress forever through the waters of the ocean. Though the waters of the oceans rise up and make clouds, and the clouds fall down as rain and run to the rivers, and from there back into the ocean, and this repeats 1,000 times, 10,000s of times, yet that water has not progressed. Neither have I given progress to a stone, nor to a tree, nor to an animal, but I have given progress to man only. End quote. And that's a book of Fragopity or Fragapati. I was joking his name at first, now saying Fragopity. That sounds weird. I'm like, dude named Fragapati. Or Waspy. Book of Fragapati, chapter 21, verse 18. Let me read this again because that was amazing. And that kind of listen, hold on. Let me just read it again. I gotta think my thought all the way through. Listen. One great light have I bestowed upon all men, which is that they can progress forever. Though the waters of the ocean rise up and make clouds, like I didn't know that the waters from the ocean rise up to make the clouds. I got to look into that process. Listen, though the waters of the ocean rise up and make clouds, and the clouds fall down as rain and run to the rivers, and from there back into the ocean, and this repeats 1,000 times, 10,000s of times, yet that water has not progressed. Neither have I given progress to a stone, nor to a tree, nor to an animal, but I have given progress to man only. End quote. Owaspi, Book of Fragapati, chapter 21, verse 18. That's amazing. I'm gonna look into that. And this is the last little paragraph before we pause. This, my friend, is a one-way trip. There is no turning back. The survival hypothesis posits an afterlife, a real and attractive post-mortem existence that unfolds on non-physical planes of livingness just beyond our grasp. And after grasp, there's an asterisk. And it says, see my blog, Tourist Guide to the Afterlife. I wonder. I'm gonna have to look that up, and I'm gonna probably post that. Hold on, Tootie. I'm gonna look up her blog. Hopefully, it's still up. T. I'm gonna look it up. Mommy. Yes. Look, see, every morning they come bring me this. Had I been doing some of my research up here last night, I'm like, nope, I ain't putting in the password. I need to go through and look at my suggestions and stuff that Google is recommending for me right now. If you was here earlier, when we was talking about things of the sexual nature from what we was reading, you know what I'm saying. Listen. Okay, hold on. This, my friend, is a one-way trip. There is no turning back. The survival hypothesis posits an afterlife, a real and active post-mortem existence that unfolds on non-physical planes of livingness just beyond our grasp. Spiritualism's central dictum is the existence of a hereafter, which is not a staging ground for the coming and going of souls, but a continual unfolding, the eternal progression, onward and upward always, worlds without end. And that's what we're going to pause at today, beautiful people. And we'll pick this back up tomorrow. It's a lot here to read. I'm gonna post these. I'm gonna post these pictures today. These little comics, and then I'm gonna see if I can find Susan's blog where she has this tourist guide to the afterlife, and we'll post that. Dawn, you welcome, sis. She said, "Thank you, Dr. Ruth." Listen, if y'all missed it earlier, what we was talking about, y'all might want to go back and watch that. It's some things of I would say of the sexual nature and women's bodies and different things that the woman body can and can't do. And it came up because of something we read in Cycle of Creation, and it triggered a thought. It triggered a thought to the study that I had been doing the last couple of days on the woman's body and stuff, and some of this stuff with parthenogenesis, if I'm saying that correctly. You got to go back and watch it. I'm telling you, it's just, first of all, it's hilarious. I'm trying to use code words because my children walking around. Okay, hold on. All right, let me put this in. Tootie, they ain't seen you in a minute. You want to say hey to everybody?
Hey. Hey.
They can't even see you. I got this thing lifted up. Hold on. All right, beautiful people. There you go, Tootie. All right. It's grown folk business, right? BC, this grown folk business. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back and watch it again too. But yeah, I'm gonna share some of the stuff with y'all so y'all can see. Maybe y'all can help me move along my studies a little bit faster if y'all get time. I know I be telling y'all about a lot of stuff, but be careful if you're gonna research. Like I said, be careful if you're gonna research some of this stuff, especially if your children, your smaller children, you let them get your phone and play on games and stuff. You don't want them to click on something wrong. We ain't looking up porn links or nothing like that. But sometimes they may not be ready to look at, especially if you like pull up a medical site or something that shows the female body and some of the parts and stuff. And they may not be ready for that yet. You don't want to like imprint them with images and not fully explain, especially if they're not ready, because you just gotta be mindful, right? So you may not be able to look up any of this stuff, or like what Jamil said, use incognito mode. You learn how to use it. I'm gonna have to learn how to use incognito mode, right? So I can look at some of this stuff, because I got to see something, so, but yeah, it'll help me with my understanding of this. It's when we can discuss these things and not be ashamed, then our motives may be pure. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that, right? I absolutely do. Some things I gotta use the wisdom when I'm talking about. Like my husband's down here, yo, this would have been way more livelier than what it was earlier, right? Because Mr. Murphy loved to talk about stuff like this. You missed it, Selah. If you go back and scroll through some of the comments and look, you will see, right? But listen, but yeah, we really should and I like talking about stuff like this because I'm all about testing, right? We're gonna test it. We need to see this all the way to the end, my G. Right? And how much better if you got a partner that you, especially some of these things, right? You can test it out with, right? You can. Let me not go there. Let's end this. Look, y'all, it is Sunday, because I get started and then we'll be going the whole hour. Listen, but it's some pretty cool things. Yep, my husband ain't gonna be mad. Listen, we'll probably talk about this another time, like when he here, and we could probably get into a little bit more detail. Maybe, I don't know, because we're gonna be taking some more trips. I don't know, maybe we'll use one of them days, because the kids won't be around, but they might be tuning in. I don't know. But if we're on a different time zone or something, it'll still be our time here, whether 6:15 or 7:30 or whatever. But we can freely talk without worrying about the kids busting like, oop, so I'm just, they get a little grown, and it is what it is sometimes, right? What, girl? Hold on. Wait. Use the backup channel. Look, the kids got all of that because they'll put it on in a loft, and I'll be playing up there. Like when we're not here, they will pull up the video in the morning just so they can see us. We'll FaceTime or whatever, but they'll have the video on in the loft and they'll sit up and watch it, right? Then they're gonna be calling us, Mom, so what were you talking about squirting? What was you squirting across the room? I'm like, me and your dad was having a water gun fight. Look, so we got to be careful. These kids soak up everything. We bought some super soakers, and because it was hot out there where we was at. Oh, can we? No, you can't, because traveling back, we didn't want to pack it, so we just gave it to local kids there, and let them play with the water guns. That, like, right? We sound foolish trying to re-explain what they didn't overheard us talking about. So, y'all, we getting out of here. It is Sunday, January the 15th, 2022. I'm sorry, 2023, day 315 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1334. We read that one little chapter on page 7 in Romance of the Red Star. And then we read page 284 to 288. 288 in Delusions and Science and Spirituality, which is the reincarnation chapter. Right? All right, y'all. Right? And there's listen, Selah. They and they really have super soaker water guns on their mind, right? See, you imagine the pickles sometimes we get ourselves into testing some of this stuff. Like, no, like, how do you answer that question when they just pop out and say that? They don't know what y'all thinking about, what y'all been talking about. They literally have water guns. Let's go outside. Let's go, right? I'm like, don't get up out of here. Get out of here. Me and Bae, let's go. Look, all right, y'all. Just tell them we drinking soda. Tell them we drinking soda. How do we explain squirting soda, right? Are we putting soda in the water guns, squirting that across the room? And they 10 and 12, and they starting to use reasoning and critical thinking skills. Right? All right, y'all, let's get out of here. Father, we thank you for being able to talk about things like Jessamy said, without being ashamed, right? Because we got to talk about this stuff. People getting in trouble because they don't know. People don't even know how to operate their own bodies. They don't know what's coming out and what's supposed to go in what or what, right? We got to talk about it somewhere. Why not talk about it here? There is when I saw that in the store, I'm like, why would they do that to a soda? Listen, I just thought about that, Jessamy. There is a drink called Squirt, and we bought some. They taste like mellow yellows to us. If y'all don't know what a mellow yellow tastes like, it's like a not quite like a Mountain Dew, but something like a Mountain Dew. But I think it's a little bit sweeter, maybe a little bit more citrusy. Maybe I don't know how to describe it, but it puts you in that mindset of that type of drink. I gotta use that. Like if they overhear us, because they be nosy sometimes, right? I'm like, these is my children. Y'all gonna be great researchers. Y'all just nosy, ask some questions about everything. Get out of here. Look, I gotta tell my husband, babe, remember? Okay, so if they ever catch us, remember the soda called Squirt? Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, right. So yeah, but they getting smarter as the days progress on. So we might have to just have these conversations outside of our house when we talking, like when we go away for a getaway weekend. We were like, okay, so this is what we talking about today, right? We got 2 days away from the kids. Let's go in, no holds bar, right? All right, y'all. So with that being said, that's it. We about to get out of here. I love y'all. You can go buy you some Squirt. Sis, go in. All right, y'all, I'm out of here. I love y'all. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning. What time we gonna be here tomorrow? Because it's a holiday. Y'all gotta work. We'll do it at 6:15. We'll do it at 6:15. We'll show back up here at 6:15. 6:15 a.m. tomorrow morning. They'll give us a little bit more time. We'll be here tomorrow morning, 6:15 a.m. bright and early, Eastern Standard Time. Peace. That's gonna be in the title today too. That's why I'm like, I know if I put this in the title, I'm gonna get all kind of spam porn links and stuff, right? But I gotta be able to recall this video and the name of it somewhere down the road, right? If I'm pointing people to stuff, I'm gonna just say, go to this video. This is the title. I don't know, maybe like squirting and reincarnation, some of that magnitude, right? All right, y'all. We talked about that, say law. We was talking about how most of that fluid that's being released is piss. Right? Yeah. You got just go back. I promise you. This is one you want to just kind of go back and like just start it over from the beginning. Like I think we were probably about 5 minutes. No, that's a little bit exaggerated. We're probably about 15 minutes in, if that, when we started talking about this. And for the whole next hour, we talked about this. Squirt guns, maybe, right? But not the kind of gun you thinking about. Bye, y'all. I'm out of here. Goodbye. Peace. I love y'all.